Hello everyone, it's me, Aaron, Professor Thorgy, your guide to all things geeky, and I don't want to do this! Don't make me talk about another Marvel relaunch. I've done it so many freaking times now. I don't want to talk about another giant freaking relaunch. Isn't there anything else I can do on today's video? I was going to talk about Black Panther, give you guys a little Geekery 101, give you a little introduction on where to start reading Black Panther. Wouldn't that have been fun? Anything. Just go and walk in the park for the entire video. Play with my dog all day. Just play Overwatch for half an hour. That lunar event ends in a couple days and I still haven't got any of the good skins. Screw it. It's my channel. I'm going to do what I want in today's episode. We're just playing Overwatch today. Of course, I'm kidding. We're not going to actually do that. Today on Comic Class, we're going to be talking about the brand new Marvel relaunch that they just announced yesterday called Marvel Fresh Start. I'm so tired of all this. Focus! Okay, everyone. So, as of right now, we don't know much about Marvel Fresh Start. We don't even know if that's the official name for it. I'm recording this on Tuesday, just a few hours after the announcement came out. As I said, I was planning on doing a Geekery 101 episode today, talking all about Black Panther, telling you where to start reading it, but whenever Marvel decides to do a giant, massive relaunch, it is always newsworthy. However, I feel like this time it's newsworthy for a completely different reason. Now, if you guys have watched this channel for long enough, then you know that I do work in a comic book store, so I do get to hear people's actual opinions on this stuff firsthand. I do get to actually see what people who come into the stores actually think, and I have not been able to go into the store since this announcement was made, so I don't know what all the customers and my fellow employees are saying about this. However, just looking around the internet, oh my goodness, the reaction I have seen to this. Holy cow. Listen, people have been getting kind of relaunch fatigue for a while now, just like they've kind of been getting event fatigue for a while now. However, even though people have had relaunch fatigue and event fatigue, they've still been going and buying the books. But we have now started to see, in the most recent years, people are actually finally not putting their money where their not mouths are. People are finally willing to come in here and go, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm tired of this. I'm not going to buy this book. And when I saw the Marvel Fresh Start announcement go out, the wave that I saw of negative reactions blew me away. And don't get me wrong. I've been on the internet long enough to know, yeah, people tend to just complain non-stop about stuff and they don't actually mean that. They'll be a little bit frustrated, but they're still gonna go out there. Or, they'll be frustrated about all the wrong things and they'll raise a big stink about something that's like, that's not an issue. Why are you upset about that? This is one of those few times in which I've actually seen people getting really, really upset about this, and I'm looking at it going, yeah, I'm on your side on this one. For anybody who is new to this channel, you might be watching this video so far and thinking, oh, here's another comic book YouTuber who just hates everything and he just complains about everything. No! Guys, look back at my older videos. I'm one of the more positive comic book YouTubers out there. I love coming in here and holding up stuff that I enjoy and going, look at how amazing this thing is. And you know something? I do that a lot with Marvel. If you watched our top 100 comics of 2017 list, Marvel had 28 books on there, more than any other company. It was very impressive. I'm very positive on Marvel books. Oh my god, I can't do this anymore. Ever since DC Comics did their big line-wide reboot and put everything back down to issue number 1 with the New 52 roughly 6 or 7 years ago, Marvel looked at that and looked at how it increased sales for the at the time kind of failing DC, and they said, hey, how can we get in on that? So they came in here and they did their big line-wide relaunch of all their books, putting them back down to issue number 1, getting brand new creators on there, getting them in brand new directions with Marvel Now. And it was a boost to their sales as well. Here's the thing, DC didn't do this again for roughly 5 more years. Marvel started doing this once a year, over and over again, And I kept seeing people come to my store saying, yeah, I'm getting really sick of them constantly going back down to issue number 1. It's keeping me from buying any of these new books. Oh, another new issue number 1? Alright, I'll check that one out. Yeah, I didn't see anybody actually backing up what they were saying with this. They still kept buying all these books. But as time went along, I started to notice that Marvel kept pointing out there's so many number 1s over and over and over again. People were now kind of just buying issue number 1s. Yes, the number 1s did sell, but Marvel had basically created a system that only encouraged buying issue number 1s, and comic books can't survive like that. So there kind of came a point in which Marvel needed to let its customers know, we're going to have some stability. We're not going to keep constantly taking everything back down to issue number 1. Everything is going to be stable for a little bit. And we're not going to put out there a ton of brand new issue number 1s. We're just going to stick with what we have, so that way you, the customers, will have time to form an attachment to these characters. And Marvel came in here with Marvel Legacy, which was another big relaunch, but it was a different kind of relaunch because they didn't really launch any new books. It was all the exact same books that they already had, but now those exact same books were going back to the original numbering for their series. They were looking back at what the accumulated numbers of all their previous series added together all added up to, and they took them back to that numbering, which I will say for my customers in my store was really confusing. I had to go up to almost every single customer and explain to them what was going on. They had no idea why their book suddenly changed numbers. But luckily Marvel did put a little guide in the back of every single one of their issues that said, hey, here is how this whole breakdown works. If you were reading this previous series, this was the last issue, so this is basically this new issue. So that was actually helpful. I could open it up for every single customer who had questions to go, this is what it's like now, so that actually helped. But it was kind of confusing for all the customers, and I know a lot of people looked at that and went, oh god, it's another big relaunch, I don't want to do this anymore. I was actually kind of okay with it, because I looked at that, and even though it was another big relaunch, I was like, okay, there's no new series coming out, and also, the fact that you're not going back down to number 1, the fact that you are now going back to the original numbering, it gives this feeling like you're not going to mess with that anytime soon. It gives that feeling like at this time next year, I'm not going to have to look for a brand new issue number 1 for this series I've already been reading. It gives this feeling like things are going to be stable for a while. That was 5 months ago, and they just announced today, relaunching almost all their titles back to issue number 1. Now, as you can imagine, I have a lot of feelings about this idea of them just taking all their books right back down to issue number 1, because on the one hand, again, it's not stability. And comic books, if you want to build a fan base, you need stability, because comic books are not a free thing that comes to you on the internet every single week with a brand new issue of a series. No, comic books are a thing that you have to get up, go out the door, go to your comic book store, and buy one issue of something that you will read for 10 minutes, and then you will have to hold on to those 10 minutes for a month in your brain before you're willing to go back out the door to that store next month for that exact same thing. Unless, of course, you go to Comixology, which in all fairness, hey man, even as a guy who works in a comic book store, Comixology is so good. I will totally give my seal of approval to Comixology. But even then, you read it for 10 minutes, and then you have to hold on to those 10 minutes and let that 10 minutes last with you for an entire month until the next one comes out. That's not something that really like flash in the pan audiences are going to hold on to. You need books that are willing to get stability with an audience. That's one of the reasons why so many younger readers aren't really reading single issues. They're reading trades. Cause yeah, trades might only come out once every 6 months, but that's an entire meal there. They can actually hold on to that entire trade for that entire length. Yeah, I can't blame them for doing that. So on the one hand, I am really miffed that Marvel is going back down to issues number 1, because again, it creates this feeling of a lack of stability. It creates this feeling of, okay, you do just have to keep buying issue number 1s over and over and over again, which does decrease the sales on issues number 2 and 3 and 4. However, yeah man, I think the damage is kind of done on that. I want to come in here and go, no, Marvel needs to stop doing this so that it can correct the ship, it can turn it back around. It's too far gone, man. I think that Marvel has been doing this for so long, they can't sell something that isn't a number 1. I think that ship has sailed. And it stinks because there's so many freaking good books out there at Marvel, and yet they'll just end quickly because audiences will just go, oh hey, what's this brand new number 1 over here? Or they'll try and create something new with that book when they didn't need to create something new with that book to try and get that new number 1 audience in there. Yeah man, it's a shame, but I think that this is what the game has now become. However, at the same time, I can kind of understand some of these books needing to go back down to issue number 1, because there are a lot of these books that Marvel has kind of been lost with for a while. Marvel hasn't really known what to do with these series, and they've been some of Marvel's flagship titles. Like, I went on Twitter when I finished up the top 100 list, and I told everyone the breakdown of what was going on that list. And when I said Marvel was in the lead with 28 books, people said, but Marvel had a terrible year. Marvel isn't good. How on earth does Marvel have that many books on there? It's like, no, Marvel has not had a terrible year. Marvel's books are great. The Avengers are not very good. Spider-Man is not very good. X-Men Gold is not very good. It's their flagship titles that are very, who cares? It's all of the other series out there, the smaller ones, the kind of more indie-ish books that they're putting out, are actually great. And of course, nobody's talking about them because they're not the flagship titles. They're the major books out there at Marvel, like the Avengers and Amazing Spider-Man. They're like, it's okay, it's fine. And those are the books that are getting big revamps in this new relaunch, and they're the books that needed big revamps. Like, let's look at Amazing Spider-Man. I was just talking about how Marvel's books lack stability because all the writers are just leaving and going on and doing a brand new number 1, and then there's a brand new relaunch over here. Amazing Spider-Man has had the exact same writer for a decade at this point. The current writer, Dan Slott, has written more issues of Amazing Spider-Man than any other writer in that series' history. Here's the problem though. People kind of got sick of the Dan Slott Spider-Man book about 5 years ago. I remember when Superior Spider-Man wrapped up, everyone in my store who had been loving that book, saying it's one of the best books out there, as soon as Superior Spider-Man was over, they were like, yeah, that's great. I have no interest in reading this anymore. Yeah, that was the story you were building up to. It's done. It's over with. Doc Ock is gone now. I don't want to get back to Peter now. And speaking of somebody who Spider-Man is his favorite Marvel character, he's like the superhero who got me into comics, I didn't really like Dan Slott's Spider-Man to begin with. There were some parts in there that I enjoyed, like I think Spider Island is actually a damn good storyline, but you know, I'm kind of just picking and choosing now at this point. I'm just kind of like shifting through all the issues to find the ones that I like. That's not something that makes me want to keep reading that book over and over again. Yeah, Dan Slott's Spider-Man was a series that I, just speaking as a Spidey fan, looked at and went, yeah, I don't want any part of this. And he wrote it for a decade. A decade at this point. Which, okay, I know that when he began that book, it wasn't just him, it was him and a bunch of other writers, but he himself solo has still been writing it for, what, about 7 years now? Jeez, man! Again, I say that these books need stability, but eventually you also have to realize a book will get to a point in which it also needs some fresh blood in there. So Marvel has had this weird thing going on in which a lot of their books need stability. They need people to back off, let them write their book, stop relaunching all these series, but then for some of their other books, mainly their flagship titles, yeah, you know, you kind of needed to bring some new lifeblood in there. You needed to get some new writers in there to really spice it up. And I'm looking at this. I'm looking at this big new relaunch of theirs. And it's got the problem of creating a lack of stability by just going back to number 1 all over again. However, Dan Slott will not be on Spider-Man anymore. Mark Waid will not be on the Avengers anymore. And hey man, I champion Mark Waid. I kept saying for the longest time, that guy is perfect to write an Avengers book. And yeah, that book was just so bland and so dull and so uninteresting. But now you have Jason Aaron coming in there, and Jason Aaron is a powerhouse over at Marvel right now. Oh my goodness, that's gonna be a great book. I hope, fingers crossed. And I look at that and I'm like, this is what you needed. This is what we've been asking for. This is fantastic. And I keep looking at all the changes that we have seen so far for this relaunch, and it's the stuff that so many people out there have been asking for the longest time. And I feel like those people would love this if you just didn't call it a relaunch. Dear God, Marvel, how have you not realized we're sick of the relaunches by now? And as I said, I understand you've kind of created a system where you have to keep relaunching it, but you're getting a brand new writer on Spider-Man. You're getting a brand new writer on the Avengers, and we don't know who's going to be writing Spider-Man, but we know that the guy writing the Avengers is one of your biggest names out there. And the new team on the Avengers, I look at that and I go, yeah, that's the Avengers. Like, that actually feels like an Avengers lineup. It's kind of weird to have Ghost Rider there, and I love the Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider, but one of the reasons why I love the Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider is because he was his own thing. He was out there completely separate from the rest of the Marvel Universe. He was doing his own supernatural superhero stuff. So I do kind of hate that now you're dragging him into the Avengers. It's kind of the same thing that happened to Miss Marvel. I had so many readers at my store drop Miss Marvel when she joined the Avengers because they liked the indie feel of Miss Marvel. They liked that she didn't feel like she had to be connected to the rest of the universe, that it felt like she was doing her own thing. So when she got shoved onto the Avengers, yeah, a lot of the Miss Marvel fans kind of turned away from that. I'm kind of feeling the same way about Robbie Reyes here, but alright, fine. But aside from that, everything else on this team is like, oh my goodness, that looks like the freaking Avengers in there. It looks like you're bringing in a classic Avengers team, and you've got a writer in there who I trust with so much stuff, and we're getting a brand new writer on Spider-Man, and we're gonna get a brand new writer on Iron Man, which was also one of your flagship titles that had not been good for a while. Yeah, man, this looks like everything we've been asking for, except that you are calling it a relaunch, and this is the problem with Marvel. Marvel has so many good books. They have so many talented writers, so many amazing people on their staff telling truly great stories, but their advertisement and their promotions department have no idea what they're doing. The promotions department at Marvel keeps using the exact same tricks and the exact same keywords and the exact same plans over and over and over again, and it's stuff we got sick of years ago, and we're not going to circle back around on this to when it's cool and fresh again. It's over with. And I've seen the promotions department at Marvel actually start to try some new stuff. Like, I made a whole video talking about some of the problems at Marvel, and one of the things I said is that you've got some great books, but nobody talks about them because you don't talk about them, because you forget these titles exist. You need to start advertising all your other books in your books. And Marvel started doing that in the worst way possible. I kept talking about how you need to actually put ads for these other series, not for big events, but for the actual series themselves inside your actual issues. And Marvel started doing that in Marvel Legacy. But rather than dedicating an entire page to one issue or to 2 issues, they will advertise 8 or 9 issues on a single page. And I look at that and I'm like, you're just reminding me that these things exist. You're giving me no taste of what's going to actually be in the book. I mean, look at some of the advertisements that you've gotten for the Marvel Legacy books. It's like just a picture of Iceman. It's like, Iceman in his comic right now is fighting Daken, the son of Wolverine, amped up on the Apocalypse Death Seed. That sounds badass! I'm not seeing that in the advertisement. I'm seeing Iceman standing there. What does that tell me is going on in that book? You advertise the champions by just putting a picture of the champions. Shouldn't you be talking about the fact that, I don't know, the Vision's daughter recently got a human form and now she's getting these weird emotions and it's this big dramatic storyline and who knows what's going to go on with them and the rest of the team? Oh my goodness, that sounds interesting. We don't get that in the advertisements. We get, hey, it's the champions. That's not working. That's not working. Oh my gosh, how are you not doing this? All right, but that's a side thing. That's a side thing. All right. My point is, the promotion department at Marvel still keeps thinking, okay, events. That's gonna sell. No, it's not. We're tired of the events. Relaunches, that's gonna get people in. I don't know if it is. I think people are finally done with that. But again, going back to what I said earlier, I don't know how Marvel works without relaunches now. I've forgotten what that was like. And I know that there are people out there who are going to say, well, it doesn't matter how you promote a book. It doesn't matter how you advertise it. Marvel's books just don't sell because they're not very good. If they were good, then you wouldn't have to promote it at all. The best-selling books are always the ones that just happen to be the best. What weird, mystical, magical fantasy land are you living in where the best product just happens to be the best-selling one? That doesn't apply to literally anything in the world at all, especially art. The entire history of art, whether it be actual drawings or inkings or writings or comic books, which are all those put together, has always been defined by insanely talented people who basically died penniless because they didn't know how to advertise the stuff that they had. Alright. I'm not getting into a weird side tangent now that doesn't even have anything to do with Marvel at this point, just about how advertising works in the art world, and that's a whole different thing. But I'll just try and sum up my feelings about this new relaunch. And as I said, we don't even know really any of the details about this yet. I'm recording this Tuesday night. I'm sure that by the time this video goes up on Wednesday, a whole lot of new information will be revealed. I've already seen some writers over at Marvel actually teasing, hey, I'm going to make some big announcement this week about a brand new project I'm working on. And that sounds wonderful. That sounds great. Yay. But I just gotta sum up my feelings about like this. And I'm hoping that me just joking and just screaming and just being a total asshole up here doesn't try and undermine what I'm trying to say and what I think a lot of people are feeling about this. In all seriousness, Marvel has some of the most talented writers in the industry working for them. I remember when Bendis announced that he was leaving, so many people said, oh, it's the end of Marvel. Who do they even have over there anymore? It's like, you're not paying attention to Marvel if you think that's true. Seriously, Marvel has got some of my favorite writers out there working for them right now. Matthew Rosenberg, Saladin Ahmed, Donny Cates, Kelly Thompson, Rainbow Rowell, Jason Aaron. All these are people over there, and a lot of them, I think pretty much everyone I just listed, actually have signed exclusive deals with Marvel. I can't wait to see all the new stuff that they are going to be creating in this big new wave of new books. But it's still a big new relaunch. And this one isn't even a year after the last one. Like I said, it's been 5 months since the last one started. And man, I'm not feeling it anymore. I'm so tired of just having relaunches. And even though I look at Jason Aaron on the Avengers, and I look at that lineup for the Avengers, I go, that looks and feels like the Avengers. And Jason Aaron is an amazing writer. And the fact that someone new is going to be taking over Spider-Man, we're going to get a new Spider-Man, freaking finally, for the first time in a decade. It's going to feel new, wonderful, great. And we're going to get brand new writer on Iron Man. I can't wait to see what they'll be doing with that. I am kind of forcing myself to get that excited about because it's just another relaunch and it creates that feeling of, okay, well, no, this is going to last. It's all just going to change again within 5 months. And comics aren't like YouTube videos. They're not like TV shows where they come out once a week. They come out once a month. As I said, it's been 5 months since we got that Marvel relaunch. Since we got the Marvel Legacy relaunch. The trades for most of those haven't even come out yet. And we're already going on to the next thing. That is shocking to me that, as I said, I want that feeling of stability, and when you have to change that frequently, it keeps you from feeling like any of this matters. It keeps you from feeling like any of these stories are actually going to go somewhere if it just changes that quickly. And even though I know this is not a reboot, even though I know the continuity is still all the same, still just seeing that number one is like, all right, brand new thing, all right. But at the same time, I understand it. I understand that you need to do this to keep getting those readers in. But my fear is, I think that they have done this so many times now, I don't even know if this is going to work. I don't know if this is going to bring people in. I think that this might be that straw that broke the camel's back. And the sad thing is, as I said, if you just look at what they've announced so far, like Jason Aaron on the Avengers, oh my goodness, that looks like what people have been asking for. That looks like exactly what people have been wanting. And I think people actually would be really excited for this if they just didn't call it a relaunch. The best way that I can describe what is happening at Marvel right now is imagine if there was a restaurant that had a really great menu and you really enjoy the stuff on that menu, but then you go in there one day and they changed everything around on the menu and it's like, all right, well, I understand, you gotta keep this place fresh. Then they kept doing it and they kept doing it and they kept doing it. It's like, I don't even know what's going to be on this menu the next time that I go in here. I don't even know what to order anymore at this place because I came in here 2 weeks ago and it's completely different now. But then take that and imagine that out front of the restaurant, there's some really annoying guy dancing around to the Venga Boys' We Like to Party and just constantly throwing flyers in your face for the restaurant. Eventually you'll be like, yeah, I don't want to come here anymore. That weird Venga Boys guy is out front all the time with the We Like to Party. I don't want any part of this anymore. But then one day, the restaurant comes in here and they go, hey, listen, we heard what you're saying. We changed the menu. It's going to look more like that menu that you liked. Also, that chef that you really enjoyed, he's now working here full time. We also cleaned things up. This looks like a far more professional restaurant. It looks exactly like what you want. It's like, oh, great, wonderful. Man, I can't wait to come back into the restaurant and... What's that sound? God damn it, Venga Boys! That's kind of what Marvel relaunches have become at this point. Even if you're giving us something that we really like, just putting the word relaunch on there has become such a no-no at this point. Just seeing it makes us go, I don't even care about any of this other stuff. I don't care about any of the other good things that you're doing. Just seeing the word relaunch up there drives me berserk at this point. But even though I'm saying that, as I said, I kind of understand it because this is the sad truth and something that a lot of people don't want to hear. A lot of people out there think that the comic book formula is perfect and you shouldn't tamper with it. It's not perfect. As I said earlier on in this video, the idea that you read something for 10 minutes and then you have to wait a month for the follow-up for that, in today's modern world where you have constant sources of entertainment coming in from every direction all at once, yeah man, that doesn't work anymore. That's not something that people are really willing to hold on to. You need some kind of a system that constantly keeps people this hyped up. So what exactly do you do when the hype machine kind of is now turning people away? What do you do when the thing that you use to hype people up to keep them sticking around month after month is now the thing that's kind of turning them away? I don't know the answer to that. I really don't. I mean, honestly, the answer to me is just start putting out comics once every single week. Make all of your big titles weekly series because that's what they've done currently with the Avengers book. And the Avengers book, it's currently, you know what, it's all right. It's not too bad. I'm actually kind of enjoying the current Avengers storyline that they have going on. But it wouldn't be enough for me to read this monthly. There came a point in which I was reading an issue, and we're on about the 6th part of this storyline, that it hit me, this has been going on for a month and a half. If I had to wait half a year to get to this point in the storyline, no way in hell would I have stuck around for this, but I'm still sticking around, because it's weekly, because it's that fresh in my mind every single time that I go back into the store. And it's not just me. Every single issue of this new Avengers series that they've been putting out, as a weekly format, yeah, it's been selling out. Every single issue in my store has sold out. And not like barely, I mean like the day, like on Thursdays, the day after it comes out, they're all gone. Because people pick it up and then they go, oh, okay, well, you know, maybe I'll continue. Oh, it's out now? All right, yeah, sure, I'll continue it. Okay, well, that's not that bad. Maybe I'll get part 3. Wait, part 3's out right now? Okay, I'll buy that now. Yes, it does kind of suck money-wise. It does kind of suck that that builds up and just costs that much money. And that is another problem with the comic book industry. But comic books don't sell well enough for you to be able to drop the price on them. So many people have been asking me, why are DC books now going back up at $3.99? Because you can't make $2.99 comics anymore. Comics don't sell that much. So that's the big problem, is that the only way to really get people that invested in comics and get them to keep coming back without having to constantly do a big relaunch, a big new revamp. Oh, look at our big new wave of books out there, is to just make the books weekly. but then that would cost way too much, and it would be way too much work on these be way too much work on these creators. So there really isn't an answer to it. Sorry, that just got so depressing and sad so quickly that I feel like I had to throw something in there to try and liven things up. But the only thing that I haven't really talked about yet is, A, with the new Avengers series, we do know that Ed McGuinness is going to be drawing it, which kudos to them on that. I have also been saying that one of the problems over at Marvel is that they have amazing artists over there, and they don't know what books to put them on. Like, they had Mike Del Mundo doing the Avengers series, and Mike Del Mundo is one of the best artists in the series. He does stunning work. But his work is best suited for weird fantasy stuff, not for Sam Wilson and Hercules having coffee together on the Avengers, or the Vision just staying around talking about his own mortality. That's not the guy who you get for that. Ed McGuinness is the guy you get for big superhero brawls. So he is a good fit for that book. So kudos to you on getting him on the Avengers. However, the other thing that I haven't really talked about is the fact that they revealed the big poster, which shows us all the characters who are going to be playing a part in the Marvel Fresh Start, or whatever this is going to end up being called. And even though we don't know quite the lineup of all the books that are going to be coming out, I looked at this. I looked at all the characters up there, and I just went, wow, that looks really basic. There's nothing in there that really gets me excited, but then again, I know I'm not the typical guy out there. I know I'm not the typical comic book fan out there. I really dig the Laura Kinney Wolverine book, which actually that one sells very well, so I know a lot of you people out there really enjoy that. But I dig the Laura Kinney Wolverine book, and I like Sam Wilson as Captain America, and I love Jane Foster as Thor, which actually, okay, that one, actually, I do have to keep bringing this up. The Jane Foster Thor book actually still sells better than the previous Thor book, which was by the same writer. So, again, feels kind of a shame that we're getting rid of her as well. Feels like you're kind of throwing the baby out with the bathwater, but yeah, basically, I looked at all the characters up there, and I just went, yeah, this is really just kind of basic Marvel. There's nothing here that's really interesting me. It's really just, hey, these are the older characters. That's nice. I've already read that. Where's the new stuff? Where's the things that are gonna get me talking of, oh, I haven't seen this before. I've seen all this stuff before. Nothing in there really is interesting me all that much. I'm glad that Kamala Khan and Miles Morales are still up there, but aside from that, I'm not seeing anybody else in there from like this new generation of heroes who I was like, okay, well, let's see what ends up becoming of them, because I've read the stories of the older guys. Oh, you're getting rid of them to bring back the older guys. All right, fine, whatever. But again, as I said, I know I'm not the average fan out there. I know that a lot of people have been screaming and shaking their fist in the air. Oh, we want these older characters back. But I haven't even really seen people that excited about these older characters returning back. Like, Steve Rogers, when he came back as Captain America, I know a lot of people who got excited about that. In the current Mark Waid Captain America book, it's selling well, so okay, kudos to them on that. But I remember I was in my store and someone was asking me, why are all these Hulk variant covers coming out? Why does every single issue out there have a variant cover with the Hulk on it? I said, because he's coming back from the dead. Even though they killed him twice within the last year. And the person just looked at me and went, why? That was his exact reaction, was just, why are they bringing the Hulk back? And he then pointed at Wolverine, at like all those little like banners that you've been seeing on issues saying, where is Wolverine? And they went, they've been hyping up the return of Wolverine all this time. Why are we now getting the Hulk as well? The Hulk can't come back when you're already bringing back one huge guy. And then I had to go up to him and tell him, you do know they also just brought the Phoenix back, right? Jean Grey just came back from the dead. And he was like, oh my god, I forgot about that. And it just happened. Yeah, man. Having all these characters come back at the exact same time, I haven't seen anybody like really that jazzed for it. I've seen people just like, oh, okay, this is happening. And I don't know if that's people being like me and just like, yeah, man, they had their time. I kind of want to read about the new guys. Or I don't know if that's more of just like, okay, you're bringing them back, but you're bringing all of them back at once? That kind of takes some of the impact out of it. Or I don't know if it's like I've been saying, Marvel just keeps relaunching, just keeps bringing out there all these things over and over and over and over again. All these things that they just keep hyping up over and over and over again. that eventually the hype just dies down for everything. When everything is hype, nothing is. So yeah, I know I'm just rambling, but it's kind of sad when Marvel can announce something like Jason Aaron being on an Avengers book, and the Avengers book will finally have Captain Marvel on there, which I've been asking for years, and we'll finally have the Black Panther on there again, which I've been asking for years, and it's gonna have, you know, the classic trio in there, which I know a lot of people aside from me have been asking about for years. And just everybody looks at it and goes, oh man. It's kind of sad when that's the reaction, and it's not regular internet nerd rage. I think that's what's really getting to me, is that you see constant nerd rage about everything on the internet. And yet this is the time in which even the people I know who don't experience nerd rage are experiencing nerd rage. This is the time when even the people who I know who are like, yeah man, screw what the nerds out there say, this looks fun, I can't wait to be a part of this. Even they're like, oh my god, I can't do this anymore. So yeah, it's not fun, it's depressing. But we're just gonna have to wait and see on this one. Again, I want to look at this and go, okay, you know what, Marvel, if you give us a lot of stuff that we're really excited for, and you're willing to just sit back and let it grow, this could be amazing. But I said the exact same thing about Marvel Legacy when they went back to their original number. It's like, okay, this implies that you're gonna sit back and let this grow. I literally say this every time that they do a massive relaunch. If you're willing to just sit back and let this grow, great. You could give me perfect books. You could give me all the books that I'm asking for. I'd still look at it like, yeah, but do I need to pick up issue number 2 because odds are it's gonna be relaunched before it hits issue number 6. Yeah, man, I got no words. It hasn't even been 24 hours. It hasn't even been 24 hours since the initial announcement about Marvel Fresh Start went out, and they already had to come in here and clarify what the announcement was. They've already had to come in here and re-explain this to us because no one knows what the hell is going on. Okay, so since I recorded all of that, Tom Brevoort, I don't know how to say his last name, I'm sorry. Tom Brevoort, one of the big head honchos over at Marvel, came out and explained they are not getting rid of the Marvel Legacy titles. They're not going to come in here, well, they're not getting rid of the Marvel Legacy numbering, I should say. All the new numberings that these books went to with Marvel Legacy, they are not going back to number 1. Except that they are going back to number 1. He has come in here and said these titles will continue to have the Marvel Legacy numbers up there, but they will also have a brand new number 1 as dual numbering. What the hell does that mean? Okay, let me just go ahead and start off by saying, okay, my big complaint that I was making and all the stuff that I recorded and you just watched was that Marvel had to go back to number 1. It was a brand new relaunch after they had just gone back to the Legacy numbers. Well, am I happy now that I know that they are sticking with the Legacy numbers? Partly, yes. I do feel better about this because it is creating that feeling of stability a little bit because they're not changing that. They're keeping those numbers going. Okay. And it is them, while keeping the numbers going, bringing in new talent on these books, trying to liven things up. That's awesome. That's exciting. Good. But I decided not to take out any of the stuff that I had recorded because I feel like, A, it was kind of important for you guys to see the initial reaction that I felt when hearing about this, because it's the initial reaction that a lot of people had when hearing about this. But I also decided not to take out any of the stuff that I just recorded because I said a lot of stuff in there that didn't really have anything to do with them renumbering. I said a lot of stuff that just had to do with the fact that this was a relaunch in general, and it's still being considered a relaunch. And I feel like people's negative reactions to Relaunch is still going to be there no matter what the numbering is. But I also decided not to go back and re-record or take out any of the stuff that I just said in this video, because aside from complaining about going back to number 1 and this being a relaunch, I said a lot of stuff in there about Marvel's problem with their advertisement and their promotions department, and I stand by that. I do feel like that is Marvel's biggest problem right now, is that their advertising and their promotions department don't know what they're doing. And I cannot think of anything out there that displays what I'm talking about better than the fact that they have come in here twice within 24 hours of the announcement of this to tell us what the number on the book is going to be. Not what is the tone of the book, not what is the big mystery of the book. Okay, that's stuff that I can understand not being able to get across, or that you shouldn't get across. What is the number that is going to be on the books? They have come in here twice to explain this, and we still don't quite know what the hell they're talking about. This is not a complicated thing. This is not a hard thing that you don't know how to get across. It's a number on a freaking book. And yet it's something that a lot of people have kind of been getting sick of, and they're kind of curious what the heck you're doing with it. And you don't know how to explain the number on the book. What I can kind of tell from what Brevoort said is he basically, with this whole thing of it's also going to have a number 1 and it's going to be dual numbering, I think, and what I hope this means is that a couple years ago Marvel did this, in which they did not relaunch their books down to number 1, they kept the books going, but at the start of all new, all different Marvel, I think is what it was. No, it was just all new Marvel. Wait, I don't know. They've relaunched so many goddamn times, I don't know. But it was like the second of their big relaunches. They didn't renumber the books, they kept the numbers going, but at the point where you could jump onto the book, at like the start of their new storyline, or when a new creator came on, they would just put a giant number 1 in the top right corner. And you know what? I was okay with that. It did confuse a lot of my customers, I do have to admit that, but I honestly was okay with that, because I was like, okay, you know what? The numbers are going on, they're not relaunching, but it lets people know where is the jumping on point for this book. That wasn't so bad. But they didn't call that dual numbering. The way that they are phrasing it this time makes it sound like there's going to be 2 numbers on this book from this point forward. That Avengers number 701 will be 701, parentheses, number 1, 702, parentheses, number 2, 703, number 3. Just going on like that. Amazing Spider-Man number 801, 801, parentheses, number 1. Just going on and on and on like that. It's going to be a continuous numbering. That is the way that they have kind of phrased it here. That sounds maddening to me. And I don't want to be too upset about that, because I don't know if that's what they're actually doing. What I am upset about is that I don't know if that's what they're actually doing, and it's a number on the book. This is a very easy thing to explain. If what you're doing is what you did that second time that you did the relaunch, in which just on that issue that is the jumping on point, you're going to put a number 1 on it so people know it's the jumping on point, all you have to do is say, we're not getting rid of the Marvel Legacy numberings. However, on the first issue of Marvel Fresh Start, where you can jump onto the book, there will be a number 1 in the top right corner that will let you know that is the start of a new storyline, that is the start of a new creative team, it is the fresh jumping on point. And then after that, you will not see that anymore. It's just going to continue the Marvel Legacy numbering. We're not getting rid of the Legacy numbering. How hard was that? How freaking hard was that? As I've been saying for years now, Marvel's biggest villain, it's not Doctor Doom, it's not Venom, it's not Magneto, it's not Apocalypse. It's their promotions department. And I can't think of anything out there that really displays this as much as the fact that when this story came out, IGN is the one who broke this story. And granted, IGN did not quote Brevoort. These are not his exact words, it's just what IGN said his exact words were. So I'm going to put these on IGN, but IGN said that Brevoort kind of wanted to keep the legacy numbering, but at the same time, he wanted to make things simple, and nothing is simpler than a brand new number 1. And a couple hours after that, they had to come in here and clarify the thing that they said was simple. And now, the day after the clarification on the thing that was simple, I don't know what the clarification means. I cannot think. Do I even have to explain this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. This is orange juice, by the way. I'm not drinking alcohol. I feel like I need to clarify that right now. And again, this isn't like, oh, what happened to Wolverine to bring him back to life? Oh, well, we can't reveal that. Oh, what's the big mystery that everyone has to gather the Infinity Stones for? We can't reveal that. Okay, that's a mystery. That's something that you should keep hidden. This is the number that is going to be on the book that people are going to be following. And again, I work in a comic book store, and I run a YouTube channel where I talk about comics. I'm kind of a guy who answers tons of questions on a daily basis that audiences out there have about comic books. My job is basically to explain to people what's going on with your books in order to encourage them to buy your books. And if someone came up to me and said, so what exactly is going on with the numbers on these books? Fairly simple concept, the number on the book. I don't know what to say. And one other thing they did have to come in here and clarify is that he said that don't be alarmed if you don't see a particular character on that giant piece of Jim Chung artwork that they put out for Marvel Fresh Start. They couldn't fit every character on there that they wanted to. Yeah, this is something that a lot of people were upset about as well. This is something that I actually commented in the video that I recorded yesterday morning, and now I'm having to record this add-on too. But I talked about how when I looked at that piece of artwork, I looked at it and went, yeah, it's just the most basic of basics. It's alright, yay, it's these exact characters who I read about for years back. No change, no difference. All those fresh new characters I had been reading about, they're not on there. This is basically him saying, don't worry, they're not going away. But yeah, when you look at and you see a bunch of the old characters coming back in here, it does kind of make you think, so what's happening to the new characters? Especially when a lot of those new characters share the exact same names with those older characters. Is there any point to those newer characters anymore? Yeah, and I've had a lot of people contact me. I've seen a lot of people online upset about this, particularly because, hey man, let's just go ahead and comment on the elephant in the room here. It's a lot of white dudes on that poster. And Marvel over the past couple of years have been really trying to make an effort to reach out to people of color, to female audiences, to the LGBTQ community. And you look at this poster and there is like none of that on there. And yeah, a lot of those fans out there feel kind of betrayed by this. And I know that a few years ago, like just a year ago, Marvel came in here and said, yeah, well, it looks like people just don't want to read about diverse characters. Man, I can tell you from in my comic book store, I've seen your new diverse characters bringing in a new diverse audience. I've seen an audience building up. I've seen a fan base growing for these new characters. And yeah, it feels like that audience is now betrayed. It feels like that audience is looking at this and just going, oh, so those characters you kind of created for me to have someone, they're not there anymore. So should I be here anymore for your books? Or should I go back to reading some DC stuff, some Image stuff? DC doesn't really have all that many options either right now. Jeez, it's sad. Yeah, so that audience is feeling betrayed. And honestly, I can't blame them. Because, yeah, some of these characters might be sticking around. But looking at that poster, we don't know who. It really is kind of in limbo right now. I mean, as I said, you got Kamala Khan, you got Miles Morales. That's kind of it on that poster. But, you know, hey, you brought the Hulk back to life for the third time in a year. I think I said yesterday that he died twice in the last year. I forgot they brought him back as a zombie for the Hand and then killed him again and had his soul go into heaven. So, yeah, they actually killed him 3 times within the course of a year. But he's back now. So I'm really glad that that audience has that. So, okay, just to wrap up this little add-on that I wanted to make for this video, him coming in here and saying, hey, there are characters that aren't on that poster. We just didn't have space for them on the poster. It does kind of make you think, well, why didn't you have space for them? And also, we're not stupid. We know how this industry works. If you're not willing to advertise the character, what hope do they have in the future? And if there are characters who are going to survive in Marvel Fresh Start who aren't on the poster, wouldn't it be nice if you at least told us which characters were surviving so we didn't have to worry about this constantly? But also, looking at the fact that he had to come in here and clarify that, but also clarify the numbers that are going to be in the book. The fact that he had to come in here just a couple hours afterwards and clarify that, like I said, the negative reaction to the announcement about this relaunch was so big and so fast. He didn't come in here to clarify it because afterwards he was looking at that and went, oh, you know what? I guess I didn't really quite sum that up. I guess I do need to come in here and just kind of clear things up. No, they had to go out there and clarify this because they saw the negative reaction to this. They saw how much people flipped out over this. And I will say this, that at least lets me know that Marvel is looking. That at least lets me know that Marvel is paying attention to the way that people are reacting to their announcements from here on out. So there is hope that maybe they can start organizing this stuff better. Like I said, there's so many things that we know about what's coming up in this Fresh Start that is exciting. Jason Aaron on the Avengers with a more classical Avengers lineup. Okay, that's really cool. Dan Slott is going to be on Iron Man. Okay, that's really cool. Someone who is not Dan Slott is going to be on Spider-Man. That's really darn cool. But we just got freaking Marvel Legacy 5 months ago. And now we've already got this new thing coming in. Marvel's biggest problem has always been the fact that, well, actually Marvel's biggest problem, as I said, was always their advertisement and their publicity. But Marvel's second biggest problem is that it really doesn't feel like they plan stuff out for the long run. And the sad thing is, I know they do. I know they're sitting around with plans for books that go on years from now. But when you look at the way that they structure these relaunches, let me propose this to you. Imagine if they had not done Marvel Legacy. If they hadn't done that at all. None of these big holographic covers, which did not sell at all. None of these renumberings, not going back to the original numberings, not just yet. If they hadn't done that at all. And now they were coming in with Marvel Legacy. And Marvel Legacy here was going back to the original numberings. And this big thing, Marvel Fresh Start, this was when they were coming in here with all these new creators. I think we would feel way better about this because then it would not have been 5 months since the last time we got one of these. It would not be us looking and going, well, what's happening to the numbering from Marvel Legacy that you just did? And it would not be us looking back at Marvel Legacy going, what was the point of Marvel Legacy? Because you didn't even change anything at all in Marvel Legacy. It was the exact same thing. If you had just waited 5 freaking months and made Marvel Fresh Start, Marvel Legacy, I think the reaction to this would be way better. But I don't know, that's just me. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. You can follow me on Twitter, Twitch, Tumblr, at Professor Thorgy. I'm going to get more orange juice, help wake myself up. And I'm just gonna keep playing Overwatch, because, yeah. I don't want to read anything right now. I just want to enjoy some video games.